Thank you. For our next question, number 3, we'll start with Ms. Maczka. Do you support a citizen commission to review the entire city charter, and do you support placing any changes recommended by that commission on the May 2015 ballot?
Absolutely. The reality of this situation that we're in right now has, quite frankly, put us in the penalty box. There is a part of our charter that is out of step with the rest of the charter, and it may not mean anything, and it probably won't, but the reality is, because this has now been pulled apart as a separate part of the charter, we do need to go through a full-blown charter review. Now, we had the opportunity to evaluate going through a charter review, and I stated at the time, on camera, that if we were going to go through the process of doing a charter review, we owed it to the residents to do it the right way. At the time that this discussion came up, it was January. We knew walking into that meeting that we were going to lose our long-term city manager. And the actual short-term action item was in order to put it on a May ballot. So my statement that evening was simply, if we are going to do this, we owe it to the residents to do it the right way. The last time we did a charter review, there were 32 meetings. I imagine there will be at least that many. And these meetings will need to be open, transparent, perhaps even videotaped. And I think the process of selecting the Charter Commission will take us a great deal of time, and is something that we've got to make sure that we have representation from every aspect of this community, so that when those folks come together to evaluate the way we conduct our business now and in the future, they will be able to take the time and do it right. The good news is we have 2 years legally until we can put it on the ballot. I feel that that is ample time to allow the process to take place, to have input from not only the commission, but the residents as well as the council. And I would imagine that by allowing enough time to do it the right way, the council will support what the Charter Commission recommends.
Absolutely. We had the opportunity in January of last year to discuss this. As a matter of fact, the same evening we discussed this, we discussed whether or not you, the residents, should have the ability to directly elect your mayor. What was interesting about what happened that evening is that it started off with the discussion of whether or not you should have the ability to directly elect your mayor. I stood strong, I stood on principle, and I said unequivocally that you should have the right to be able to directly elect your mayor. Now, during that discussion, unfortunately, Ms. Maczka decided at that time that it did not make sense for you to be able to have an opportunity to directly elect your mayor. But she also said, I would approve it if it was in the context of a full charter review. So I thought, oh, good. That means in a few moments when we talk about the charter review, Ms. Maczka might actually be willing to vote for that. As it turned out, when that issue came up, she voted against that as well. Now, I believe on that second vote, Councilman Mitchell and I both voted to do a charter review. Here's the issue on the charter review. It has been 20 years since we've done a full review. The 20 years previous, we had done 4 or 5 full reviews. We need to make sure that the charter of our city makes sense for today. And the reason why it wasn't reviewed last time was because, quite frankly, there were those who were afraid that in the process of a charter review, you might actually end up getting a vote for mayor. As it turns out, residents took the action into their own hands. I voted for it. She voted against having a direct election of the mayor, and instead, residents had to go and start collecting a petition, getting the signatures, and allowing you to vote, as was stated earlier, 3-1, that you wanted to be able to directly elect your mayor. The fact that we need to do a charter review has nothing to do with that mayoral election. It actually just exacerbates the position and the point and says that people really want to see change, and that's going to be something that we ought to do as a part of that charter review.
So on the rebuttal, I will say that the vote that night was specifically about considering evaluating the direct election of the mayor by the May ballot. What I said that night is I was not willing to consider that separate and apart from a full-blown charter review. The wonderful thing is you can go back and watch the tapes, and I said just that. And when we got to the discussion about the charter review, again, I was concerned about self-interest and the desire to get the direct election of the mayor on the ballot by May, because make no bones about this. My opponent was in favor of this because he wanted to be the mayor. I said, if we are willing to do a full-blown charter review and take the time required, I will jump in with both feet, I think is what my quote was that night. I stand by that. But I also wanted the council to really understand that this was not something that we could quickly do in order to make a 30, 90-day deadline. This was something that we needed to commit the resources, the time, and the energy to do correctly, because that's what the residents of Richardson deserve.
What people really dislike about politicians and politics is that also often we say one thing and then we do something completely different. Laura, frankly, said, I would be okay with a direct election of the mayor, except I want it to be a part of the charter, so I'm going to vote against this. And then, as a part of the charter, should we do a review of the charter? Well, no, I don't want to do that either. So really, which one is it? Does Laura believe that you had the right to directly elect your mayor or not? I said yes that day, even when it was obvious that the rest of the council was against it. But I did what I knew was right because I was hearing it from you, the residents. They want to say it was about me wanting to be mayor. The fact is that in 2011, from these stages, I said then that I would fight to be able to give you that right. And I did what I promised. I did it even when it was politically difficult, because what we deserve is a principled leader, a person who's willing to be independent and do the right thing every single time.